So we've talked about positive work. Now let's talk about negative work. You probably can already guess what's already going to happen here. Okay, so I've got my block, and I'm going to apply work on that block. I'm going to apply a force on that block. So I'm going to push that block in this direction. Okay, so there's my force in that direction. Now, instead of that block moving this way, it moves in the opposite direction. That's my displacement. Okay? So I apply a force this direction, but the block goes this way. That seems to violate any sense of, well, any common sense. Okay, and I have a lengthy argument about the idea of common sense. Common sense says that the world is flat because the majority of the people on the planet think that the world is flat, so that would be common sense. But anyway, I apply a force this way. The object experiences a displacement this way. We're doing negative work, but how is that possible? Well, remember what positive work says. Positive work says I want to change the speed of the object. I want to increase the speed of the object. Okay? So when I push an object and it goes in that same direction, wow, it's like it's in 3D. Push the object and it goes in the same direction, I'm doing positive work on it. And if I do this, the opposite of positive work, negative work, I would in fact actually try to slow the object down. So the one thing that we haven't taken account of in this diagram is that this object is moving. You would have to presume that it has a velocity. And that velocity would have to go in this direction. Okay? Obviously, if the velocity was going in this direction, and the force was going in this direction, and the displacement went in that direction, then things are going crazy. Okay? But if I apply a force in this direction against the velocity, so the block is moving in this direction, but I push back on it. My arms aren't long enough. I'm got my block moving this way. I come over here and I push on this direction, but the block continues to move. I'm doing negative work on it. I'm attempting to slow that object down. The motion of the block is in this direction. I apply a force in the opposite direction. I'm attempting to slow that block down. I'm doing what's called negative work. Okay? So negative work is an attempt to slow the object down, to reduce its speed. I keep using the word speed because think about if all these vectors were flipped. Oh, better yet, negative velocity. It's pointing in this direction. So if I was attempting to decrease my velocity, to make my number smaller and smaller, this starts off maybe negative 10 meters per second. So getting it smaller, make it negative 12 meters per second. Okay? I'm not talking about, negative 12, negative 24, and whatever. It keeps on getting smaller, smaller, and smaller. That's why we don't talk about velocity. Talk about speed, the magnitude of the velocity. If it's negative 10 this way, its speed is 10. Okay? So now I'm attempting to slow it down. I'm attempting to say, no longer 10, I want it to go 8. No longer 8, I want it to go 5. I'm doing negative work on there, attempting to change the motion of that object. Okay? So that's what negative work is. And negative work follows the exact same laws as any kind of work. If I apply a force in this direction, I apply a force in this direction. It's only the component of the force that's in the opposite direction of my displacement do I perform negative work. The rest of it is considered wasted. Cool? So that is negative work.